Good morning, everybody. It's January 22nd. It's Wednesday. Yeah, we got about a week left of January. Can you believe it? All kinds of things have happened, as you well know. We have a new president. President Donald J. Trump was sworn into office on the 20th of January as required by the United States Constitution, a copy of which I have right here, my little pocket copy. And if you're lucky enough to have been out to lunch or dinner with us, I give you your own personal copy. I have 24 of these, and I can reorder in packages of 24. I have the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, because it came under discussion on birthright citizenship. How does that work? Well, according to Section 1, yes, when an immigrant comes over here and without papers, so to speak, and gives birth to her little darling, the little darling is a citizen, but it says nothing about mama in here. So the Constitution has not been amended. So in theory, ICE can basically say, all right, your kid's a citizen, but the rest of you gotta go, including mama. Yeah. So, Constitution doesn't provide for, the kid being a U.S. citizen, mommy a citizen, her family citizens, his family citizens. Yeah, you bring in 25 people with the birth of one. No, the U.S. Constitution doesn't provide for that. So, throw them out. And let them sue to get back in. And then let the courts decide. There's no basis in the Constitution to let in their whole family. I read all the subsections of the 14th Amendment. The Constitution itself does not provide for it, nor does this amendment. So that'll be interesting litigation, if there is litigation. I go along with this theory. When in doubt, throw them out. I mean, it's not funny. It's serious business. But there's no nation in the world that provides for this. Our Constitution doesn't provide for it. I guess 12 years of liberalism, has, filled up our, with memos on how you can do that. We need to tear all that down and get down to basics. This is not a big book, okay? The Constitution is very clear. I don't know how to read things You know, I'm not a constitutional attorney. You know, in one of my 9 lives, I think I'll come back as a constitutional attorney. All the pleadings and everything that's happened with the 14th Amendment. I don't know how they think this is possible. I guess in the liberal courts it's possible. In the conservative courts, you know, it shouldn't be possible. Because no other nation in the world does that. Why the hell are we doing it? And then we got to provide benefits for all these 25 people, you know, that hate us. You know, when you come in the front door, you got to learn about the United States, and you got to love being here. Otherwise, you don't get in here. We got enough people already here hating their own country for some reason. You know, we need to get down to basics and common sense. Now, I had a friend of mine. His name was Asa B. Groves. Asa, A-S-A, B. Groves. Asa Groves. Had a lot of lunches with Asa Groves and learned a lot. Had after 5 cocktail parties. You know, just talked to him with elbows on the bar in Coral Gables. You know, he was a well-known Coral Gables-based developer. Built a lot of residences in Dade County, Broward County. He offered me a job to take over all house building in Broward County, and it would be my company, and he would have like a 10, 15, 20% share. So I do the work. He does the logistics. He sets up everything. You know, I get paid a nice advance or salary or whatever it was. I don't know, I was afraid. I just went through, you know, the the last recession, you know, begging for work. I finally got hired by Barnett Bank, and, you know, good old Barnett Bank of Miami, under Carlos Arbolea. And my good friend and neighbor, actually, Dick Yace, Y-A-C-E, introduced me to the very senior guy at Barnett Bank of Miami. It wasn't the president, Carlos Arbolea, because I think there was a different president. So he introduced me to he was the head of all the commercial loans departments, you know, in Dade County. You know, a serious player. So I met with him. It was a lunch, you know, with Dick Yace. And they hired me, and I started work there May 15th. Okay, 1975, I believe it was. Yeah. So I was working there at Barnett Bank of Miami, right? I was a real estate guy, hired in as a real estate guy. this fellow walked in the door with a big set of plans, and he rolled up in those set of plans was some projections and cash flows, that were beautifully done. I mean, oh gosh, it was a project, unless it was, underwater. So if the project was reasonably located, which it was, it was on Glades Road, just west of the Turnpike. And I looked at this thing and went through the cash flows. James F. Lindgren. Jim Lindgren took me through the highlights of those cash flows. I said, wow. I said, is the site underwater? What's wrong with this deal? Give me a hint. I looked at him and I laughed. I said, so James, what's wrong with this deal? He says, nothing. It's a slam dunk. I said, I see that. It was like, first phase is 168 units, if my mind serves me correctly. And so I said, well, let's go in and talk to my boss. Yeah. And we shall remain unnamed at the moment. So we go into my boss. Here, I got hired into, Barnett Bank May 15th. And I just, I just suffered a period of time when I was unemployed and this and that. I used to be a math teacher in Broward County, actually. And, the economy went on the crappers. So, and then I got hired into Barnett Bank. And I kissed the ground as I walk in the front door. 1201 Brickell Avenue. I think it was 12th Street and Brickell Avenue. South 12th Street. It's on the 5th or 6th floor. They just remodeled the whole suite of offices up there. It was really, we had a branch downstairs managed by, I believe, Nancy Marquez. She was the branch manager. A very classy woman. She said her purse and her shoes always matched. It matched not only in color, but, leather, She was, she was dressed to the T. Just a stunning looking, high class, I don't know how else to describe her. But she was top shelf in every possible way. So I was up there, real estate office. But they said, you need to go downstairs for a month and learn from the bottom. We won't leave you there. So I go down, to work as a teller. They had like 8 or 10 teller lines. That's a lot of teller lines. But Miami's a big city. 1.5 million population back then. 2 million population, whatever. And we had 5 teller lines opened, morning to close. Every day. It was like unbelievable. So, 5, 6, 7 teller lines active. Anyway, when I went down there, I think there were 5 teller lines. There are lines, 15, 20 people in each line. 5 teller windows open. So, Nancy Marquez shook her hand. I had hurry-up training. So I was like in the 6th teller line, but the window is like half closed. While I'm learning the computer system, which I'm relatively computer literate, so I learned that real quick. So in one day I went through that. I was good. You go through this online training, and then you take tests, and and that was the end of that. So I come in the second day. Mrs. Marquez looks at me. She says, "Well, James, are you ready?" I said, "You mean after day 1?" I said, "I am ready." She said, "Okay, we're going to open up your teller line. Please don't give away all the money." I said, "We will balance to the penny." Yeah. So I opened up my teller window. 14 people slide over and get on my line. I said, "Okay, folks, give me a break here. I've used this system for exactly 9 hours. So let's see if we can, keep the transactions simple for a while." Huh? So, I'm going through, you cash a check, and then you post it, you ring it through this, and you do that, and you press some buttons. And, so I'm doing stuff. I say, "Good morning, sir. How are you today?" We have a nice conversation while I'm doing the teller, the stuff, and putting the papers in the proper bin, I mean, it was a pretty good system, 45 years ago, whatever it was. I can tell you what it was. It was 1976. It was May, okay? That's when Barnett Beck hired me, May. May 16th or 17th. Something like, I really. And so this is like maybe June 1st. Last week in May, I'm on the teller line. And my line is really long. And I'm talking to everybody. "And how are you, madame? How's everything going?" She says, "It's fine. I need 2 rolls of quarters." And today, there's the change. She needed a change drawer set up. So she gave me the money, I think $10 for a roll of quarters. I think so. 40 quarters. Yeah. $10. A couple of roll of dimes, a couple of roll of pennies, a couple of roll of nickels. So I got them out of my change drawer. No problem. I didn't have to roll. It was already rolled. They were pre-rolled and weighed, and so they were counted and weighed. Yeah. So I did everything just fine. And my line, it kept on, I'm looking over to the other tellers, and their lines are like 10 or 15 people. I got 20 people online in my line. I said, "How come I talked to my customers. I said, "How come my line is longer than everybody else's?" She says, "Because you're a nice young man and you're talking to us. You see those other tellers? They don't say a word. It's almost like they don't like what they're doing." I said, "Oh, how sad." I said, "Well, I like what I'm doing, and I like that we're having a conversation." So procedures, but at halftime compared to those guys over there. Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, your line will be the longest because you're actually talking to the people, and those people don't seem to be very happy with what they're doing." So apparently these people want to be talked to. I said, "Well, how nice. Well, then I'll keep yakking." Yeah, and I went through the line, and I had the longest lines. Nancy Marquez comes over to me after I close my window. It's like 5:05 p.m. And she says, "James, your lines were the longest." I said, I noticed that, You have the 4 or 5 other lines there, and, they average 8 or 10 people in line, and I got like 20 people in line and I asked my customers, I said, I wonder why my line is the longest. Look at those lines over there, only 10 people. She says, well, because you're talking to us. I said, Nancy, there's a lesson to be learned there. Talk to your customers. Yep. Don't just stand there like a robot. If they're not going to have a nice conversation, you might as well have robots. This could be robotic. Doesn't have to be a manual thing. You got all these computers. And sure enough, 20 years later, Barnett and all the other banks, they had talk to your customer drives where you had to talk to your customers. Even if you were a cranky old bastard, you still had to, you, the cranky one, had to try to talk to your customers. Now, if they don't want to talk, that's fine. But if they do want to talk, how nice is that? Good morning, it's a nice day. It's Miami, it's beautiful. Particularly in May. June, it gets a little wet. Yeah, probably coming in out of the rain 14 days out of 30. Yeah, I'm looking at delayed broadcast up here. Tom Homan is locking them up. The border is shut, closed. And Tom Homan cheers Trump's effort to seal the borders closed. And as the cameras are on, the Fox cameras are all over the borders. There's dried up. There ain't a person in sight. Isn't that, millions of people, 10 or 12 million people pouring over these borders, and now it's shut down. And there's not a soul in sight. And, Tom Homan is going to, there are helicopters up there looking for people, And of course the bad guys might sneak in, a hole in the line. But, now you got, 3 people with rifles standing there. And they're allowed to shoot. And you can fire off a couple of shots into the sand underneath their feet. They're close to it. And say, get out, or else. And they got to move. Or they get arrested and deported immediately. So he's going to get rid of, he's going to shut it down. And the word gets around fast. These people aren't going to, walk clawing their way, up the entire Mexican country. So their officers will close down their southern border so that their northern border doesn't get loaded up with all these illegals. And now 22 states are suing because of the birthright citizenship situation. Well, the Constitution has not been amended to allow what's going on, with, some lady from Nicaragua gives birth in the United States, and all of a sudden all her family is birthrighted into the country. Birthright citizenship is just ridiculous. No, he's not talking about the baby. He's talking about everybody else. because the kid is a citizen, but the Constitution has no provisions for the mother. In theory, she should be thrown out, and the kid's a citizen. They both get thrown out, but he gets a passport on his way out the door, and the mother doesn't get one. And then they can try coming into the country again. But my son is a U.S. citizen. Here's his passport because of the 14th Amendment. But Mama and all her relatives, and the father, because of all his relatives, has no legal basis to be kept in the country. So it's it needs to, so it's going to stop. So it's going to be a tough battle, but it will clarify the U.S. Constitution, and because it'll get to the Supreme Court, and let them, if they're constitutionalists, unless there's a little trap door somewhere, I don't. When you get down to basics, I don't see, that they don't have a leg to stand on. And that's the way we've always done it. That is not a legal principle that I'm aware of. Well, we've always done it that way. So does that make it law? It shouldn't, in my opinion. These guys who, 260 years ago, this is all handwritten too. So they were very judicious with the use of the English language, because Benjamin Franklin or whoever actually hand wrote it with a beautiful penmanship. They pack a lot in a sentence because this poor sucker had to hand write it. It's the entire U.S. Constitution is right here. It starts off with the Constitution. Article 1, Section 1. A note from Charlie Kirk. He provided this. He provided me with like 3 of these. And I found, the publisher that published this. Charlie Kirk has got, his Turning Point USA logo and so forth on here. Constitution of the United States of America. So I found it on Amazon. A package of 24 for $22, shipped to front door. I'm replenishing my supply today. So it's nice. It has the entire Constitution and all 27 amendments. Remember, the first 10 are called the Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech is number 1. And Amendment number 2 protects Amendment number 1. Yeah. All right, so Elon Musk. So now we go to our pictorial guide here. So we're going to go here. So here's something it's not an unreasonable price, but the price has gone up 3 times this month. It went from $6.99 to $7.99, and then without ads, it went up to $17.99. So it was $15.49, and then I get this message: we're raising from $15.49 to $17.99. So that was like 2 weeks ago. So I said, hey, well, yeah, it's surely worth it. We watch everything on. We don't watch exclusively stuff on Netflix. But all the current stuff that's on there, we watch like everything. I mean, literally. Every TV show, every movie, when you have these, we have a big, a large screen TV, in our family room wall, which is connected to the dining room with no wall. So it's one big area, like 24 feet by 32 feet. And you had couch right there, about 15 feet from the big screen. And the big screen is like 85 inches. So it's like the largest one you could buy without paying $50,000 for the TV. So it was 85-inch Samsung. We bought it at Best Buy. I mean, I looked everywhere. And Best Buy had this thing marked down like $600 or $800. And I said, hey, $1,800, $200 to install it, and a $200 bracket that the installer installed. And then they hung it on the wall. And you could tilt it, like 6 degrees, up or down or down. So we mounted it up on the wall. We have a 3-foot tall, half a hutch, drawers, cabinet drawers, and underneath the TV screen. And then she has about a foot of space above that, or else it overlaps the bottom edge of the TV screen. So she actually got 14 inches, I think. So I had to encourage the guy 3 or 4 times. I want the top edge of that TV 14 inches from the ceiling. Not the molding, the ceiling. So get it up there, or else I'm going to have you change it. Because I got this, I used artificial intelligence. The Apple artificial, so I told my iPad that I was getting an 85-inch TV. So that's the diagonal. So you connect the dots, give me the polygon, the rectangle of an 85-inch TV, and project it on my wall. So you hold your iPad up, in a photo mode, so it can, look at the wall I'm talking about. So I'd zoom it so that it filled up the face of the iPad, and then it literally placed, the TV between the ceiling and the bottom edge of this, half a hutch. I forget what they call that. And it put it on there, and so I carefully did a print screen of what it came up with. And I, did a measurement, and it was 14 inches from the ceiling. That's exactly where I wanted it. And it made it 14 inches above the top of this half a hutch thing, which we had made. We had 2 of those made. This is all handmade stuff. It's custom made for our other house. So, yeah, that was perfect. Anyway, so now the premium Netflix prices has gone to $24.99. So $25 a month, and you get the premium setup, which includes all your movies and all your TV shows, are ultra high definition, and which you can see there. You get no ads. If you get the cheap setup, standard with ads, it costs $8. But then you got ads stringing, along the bottom, along the top. Sometimes you got to watch a minute and a half ad, fills up the whole screen, and stops your broadcast. It's no. I want no ads, and I want to be able to get all the movies in ultra high definition. And Marco Rubio, this will be his second day, actually in the State Department's headquarters office in Washington, D.C., as he takes charge of the State Department itself. Forget the rest of the U.S. government. There's a huge bureaucracy. Oh my God! So you gotta look at the organizational chart. You can just imagine. You've been a U.S. senator, and the only thing you've been in charge of is the 16 employees, in your senatorial office. It's a serious office, and he's been reelected. So he's been in that spot for, 10 years or more. So as Secretary of State, he's got a microphone in hand, and he's talking to, all the State Department people as they squeeze into the lobby and, the second floor, mezzanine level. Yeah, they're all hanging over the borders, getting to know their new boss. There are some political, positions in there that he has to purge because he wants, so there are people in Washington from all over the world wanting to meet, U.S. diplomats, with the Secretary of State. I mean, he's on the short list of every network to talk to, all these other countries, the whole world. It's amazing. Yep. So, that's like a daunting task. Yeah. Well, as Trump takes over a huge bureaucracy, having to run, all these departments, the State Department, Secretary of this, Secretary of that. So he has, 20 people that are in charge of everything, and the 20 people that are in charge of everything report to you, because you're in charge of them. And as the pyramid goes down, to the level where you have 2.5 to 3 million people under your supervision through all these layers of the pyramid of a big bureaucracy. So everybody's got tasks. So Rubio is in position. The Republican leadership is getting ready to crack down on the senatorial leadership because we got to get these cabinet officials, they have the right, to examine and approve. It's called a confirmation process. And until you're confirmed, you can't assume the responsibility for what you've been chosen to be responsible for. Pete Hegseth, for example, has had some, women complain about him being a little too aggressive, in amorous moments. To be polite about it. It was 10, 12 years ago. And he had to deal with the police department in Southern California, for a month or so, while they investigated the woman who filed a claim, that he was, rough with her or something to that order. The police department thoroughly investigated it. She didn't report it until 4 or 5 days after supposedly the date they had. And arm in arm, she accompanied Hegseth up to his hotel room. Now, what do you think that was all about? You think they were going to go play canasta? And they had 2 or 3 hours worth of talking in the bar where they met. And then they eventually, walked up to his, he didn't tie her up and gag her and drag this kicking and screaming woman into his hotel room. She was arm in arm. They had video files of it, it was broadcast on the channel I was looking at, a YouTube thing probably. It turns out after the police thoroughly investigated it, they didn't charge him at all. They charged him with nothing. So the woman was either batso or just trying to take advantage of him, So she got home and this and that, and she had a bruise here and there, and her family and friends said, you really ought to go to the police department and report this. You're roughing up my daughter. Well, that's what she did. And then they investigated him big time. And they didn't charge him with anything. So they kind of unofficially, this is Jimmy talking now. This is not an official proclamation. Jimmy thinks, that she was a nut job. And that was case closed. Police department spent, a lot of time investigating him. Interviewing this and interviewing that and interviewing the people in this fine hotel where there was a big speech, being given in the, where hundreds of people were, watching a presentation of something, and he was chosen he was one of the speakers, at this convention of, I don't know what. So Pete was one of the invited speakers, esteemed in whatever discipline they wanted him to speak to. I guess maybe the military, because he had 20 years history, 3 tours of duty, 3 deployments, 3 different countries. So he was being shot at by folks, you know. And he had a platoon or whatever you call them, walking through, you know, whatever area he was in charge of patrolling, and you got the enemy shooting at him and his people, you know, so they're all hiding behind rocks and trees and shooting back and yada yada. So he did 3 tours of duty, and I think when you get deployed, you're at it for a couple of years, and then you sign up to get, you know, re-up, get deployed somewhere else. So they lift you up and put you somewhere else. So, you know, as a Princeton for 4 years, and Harvard master's degree. It's harder, you know, Harvard, Princeton, and Yale are really, really tough to get into. You got to be recommended by congressman and your senator. And you have to, you know, write up a real good resume and a real good academic performance. Other, you know, maybe you was a football player, you know, tight end or something. Not quarterback. Or else I would have remembered it. But Princeton, Harvard, Princeton, and Yale, they're like, you know, the ultimate of the Ivy League schools, you know. There are 20 Ivy League such schools, you know. And those 3, when I grew up with a Harvard, Princeton, Yale, I mean, it just comes off your tongue automatically. And, you know, so he had a rough beginning of his life, you know, with drug and alcohol abuse by his parents and in-laws, so forth. So I'm sure that was in his resume. And even with all that disadvantage, you know, and coming up through, you know, Appalachia, you know, he rose to the top, and he was very disciplined, strong performance through his entire career, you know, in high school. And he got good grades, and he was, you know, at the top of his class. Not valedictorian, but up on the top 1% of his class rankings. You gotta be. And you gotta be in the top 1% of your whole state's SAT scores. Remember the SAT? Standard Aptitude Test, SAT. At one point in my life, when I was a math teacher, I got to know an English teacher or 2. Yeah, 2 of the English teachers in high school became, you know, some of my best friends when I was a young teacher. 21 years old, 22 years old, teaching high school math. You know, geometry, remember that? Trigonometry. So, and I did not stand out in my academic studies as a high schooler. So when I was teaching these classes, I had to kind of learn it. I had to learn it first. So here I'm teaching, you know, trigonometry, which I wasn't, you know, I wasn't paying attention, you know, in high school to, you know. I was interested in girls and cars, you know. Yeah. So when I was selected to teach those topics in math, high school math, I literally had to go through the, not algebra, I mean, I was okay with that, But, really understanding geometry and trigonometry and, the textbooks were really quite good. These high school textbooks, if you really read them and studied them, they were outstanding teaching aids. So I learned the fine, the edges of geometry and trigonometry that I needed to brush up on. So, because when you're teaching it, you got to know what the hell you're talking about. You're just standing in front of 30 people, young kids who are people, and they've got some smart, you got some smart people in there, a lot of smart people in there. So, they're going to throw tomatoes at you if you don't, wise up and, keep them fed with, the great quest for knowledge. You gotta know what the hell you're talking about when you're standing in front of, 30 souls that need to know what you're teaching them. So I was a very judicious, studious, young, very young. Some of the students in my class looked older than I was. I always looked very young, When I was 25, I looked 17. When I was 30, I looked 20. When I was 35, I still looked 20. I missed my age by 14 or 15 years as I grew older. When people guess how old you are. How old are you, James? I said, well, how old do you think I am? I always throw that back at them. So I convinced Marilyn to do the same thing. My wife and best friend, we were like, ooh, white on rice, as they say. She was such a star. Not that she isn't now, but I was really proud to be married with Marilyn, as I am now. I'm just talking about when you're 26 years old, 25. No, I was like 31 or 2 when I met Marilyn, and at Royal Trust Bank. She worked for the international department. McCluskey was the head of her department, and I worked in the real estate area in a smaller building next to her building. She was in the tower building, and I was in this 4-story building. It was okay. Worked for Bob Curtis, Robert H. Curtis. Marvelous man. Tony Romeo and myself and Bob Curtis went to lunch 2 or 3 times a week, every week for years. And it was really quite I really look forward to our luncheons because you learn all kinds of things, being around really good people. And Tony Romeo was, at the top of his game, and I just happened to be, a really smart kid, and I caught on quickly, and I was okay socially, so I wasn't, an oddball, but everyone thought of me when I was in my younger years as being quite studious, what does Jimmy think? I taught a class. What's Jimmy think? I got a website. What's Jimmy think? Literally. You can read thousands of articles on a website that I have Trying to think of the web address. It's FAU for you. No, not Netscape. I'll think of it. I'll show it to you next time. Where I have all my articles. Oh my God. I have 1,000 articles. Articles that could be published in all kinds of magazines, technical kind of magazines. I really took apart, verbally and in writing, the battery. The battery is the magic part. There are all kinds of really important parts in an electric car. I happen to be, we're driving our second Tesla Model Y. He's got a Model S, like Sam, X like exit, Model X, Model Y, like, why are you talking to me? And the Model 3. He couldn't call it Model E because the Ford Motor Company owns the copyright of Model E for some reason. So he couldn't use Model E because he wanted to have the four names, the four lettered names of his cars, sexy, S-E-X-Y. And the E, he couldn't use it. The Ford put up a stink, and was going to sue him for copyright infringement. So he backed off, and that's what Elon Musk should do. Buy the Ford Motor Company so he could grab that name, Model E, put it on his cars instead of Model 3. But I guess he sold couple million Model 3s, so he's stuck with it. So he just turns the 3 around backwards to make it look like an E. Yeah. Anyway, the Model E is one of the hottest selling cars in the world, as is the Model Y. They're really unbelievable vehicles. Anyway, so I'm driving the Model Y, which is like the SUV version of the Model 3. We lease them, and which is really the best. When you're dealing with a high technology product, the Tesla cars are at the top edge of high technology, or something with 4 wheels and a steering wheel, and a computer in the car. Now, when you put it on autopilot, which is like an advanced version, of what we used to know as cruise control. Every car company calls it something else now, but it's really a fancy schmancy cruise control. And let me turn the... I'm wondering why I can't hear myself think. We got Epidemic. Sound instrumental. My royalty-free background music. Which heads off our little broadcast and ends our little broadcast. Yeah, with 30 or 45 seconds worth of, that. Anyway, I have the Model Y. We have it on 3-year leases. We're on our second 3-year lease. And it is the most magical car I've ever driven. And I've had all the, we're lucky enough to, in the economic scheme of things, to be able to afford, the 2-seater Mercedes-Benz, the 4-seater coupe Mercedes-Benz. Oh my God. they're the most expensive cars in America. Really. And Marilyn had a gold, 500 SL, and she was like a star. I mean, she was like this beautiful 30-year-old driving, with the top down, and she'd have her hair in a way so it would tie down a little bit, a ponytail of some sort. And she had a girlfriend that was equally as stunning. So the two of them ride around in that car with the top down, and oh my God. They each had one, Anyway, so I drove around in the 4-door sedan version. The 450 SEL, something like that. It's it's a luxurious version of the German Mercedes-Benz. So it wasn't a Bentley, It wasn't a Rolls-Royce, because those two were like 150% of the price. So we were in the second tier of the luxury car business. Never owned a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce, because to me those cars were in your face unwealthy. And we did well, but I was never in your face wealthy, where I shouldn't be driving a car like that. Then or now. If I won, $100 million lottery, I wouldn't buy a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. I'd stick with, I like the Model Y. It's a perfect size car, I might upgrade to the Model X, which is the one step up a little more luxurious than the Model Y. I'd have to, think about the Model X, about how, is it keeping up with the full self-driving software campaign, or is Tesla paying more attention to the Model 3 and the Model Y, since those are the best-selling cars in the world right now? Can you imagine? The Model 3 and the Model Y are the highest selling, the biggest gross selling models on the entire planet for like 2 or 3 years in a row. And you say people don't want to buy electric. Well, there are a lot of people that do. Not a majority of the people. Maybe 10% of the people buy electric cars. Marilyn and I have been driving electric with the Model Y for, 5 years. Going on 6 years in March. So, our anniversary is like, for the car driving, is like March 15th. That's when, in 2.5 years from now, that's when we turn the car in and get another one, probably. So, and maybe 2.5 years from now, when we're done with the Model Y, maybe the full self-driving is working so good that with Tesla's robo-taxi, turn in the Model Y and get two robo-taxis. One for private personal use, full self-driving, no steering wheels, no brake pedals, no accelerator. You just sit there, you know. It doesn't have a back seat, it has a front seat and room for luggage. I'll bet you robo-taxi will be eventually equipped so it could carry 4 people with a little less luggage room. Right now, it's like a 2-seater because 92% of all taxi rides, regular taxis, like in Manhattan, Atlanta, big cities all over the planet, the average ride is 1 or 2 people in the taxi. Rarely is it 4 people. So that's why they designed the robo-taxi, with 2 seats. Because 92% of everybody that, wants a vehicle like this, you only need 2 seats. So I'd get 2 of those. Lease them. One to rent out as a and the other one to keep, hermetically and germ-free. Yeah, I don't want people I don't know driving around in my car all day long. So that taxi I keep for myself. And, I got a parking space that's energized. So they have like a charging pad that, can go underneath your car and charge up your robo-taxi. So that I can lay down right in the spot and just leave it there. And the second robo-taxi that is going to be rented out, I would have to, put it down in the energized spot in the garage here. The second energized spot, and plug it in because it's gonna be rented out for the next 24 hours. And every day I'd go down and clean out the robo-taxi, make sure it's clean for the next bunch of passengers for the next day. So, and look at it, inspect it. The people will take care of things in the robo-taxi when you rent it out, because you have to give them, they have to log in and, on the app, so that person is personally responsible if he louses up the robo-taxi and all his information and billing addresses and so forth, is right in there when you sign up to ride a robo-taxi wherever you're going to go. Because, you give them basically they take an impression of your iPhone that has your payment information right in your iPhone. So bad guys. Anyways, mostly good guys that get in the robo-taxis, because it's all, with the iPhone and an app to be able to hail one of these things. Bring it over to the curbside for you. So the robo-taxis all over the area. So in a 24-hour period of time, and then it's the time for it to come home. So after it drops off the last passenger at 4:30 a.m. or whatever it is, then the robo-taxi comes home automatically and finds an available energized parking spot and waiting for me to plug it in. It supposedly has this big pad that electromagnetically beams the energy up into the receptacle part of the robotaxi. I'm wondering if there's a way you can plug it in through the trunk or a hidden port in case it's not convenient to use the the charging pad, which you don't have to plug in. But if you're in a parking spot where you don't have the ability to leave that expensive charging pad down on the floor of the parking area, you need to plug it in, so to speak. It needs to have a plug somewhere. And if it didn't have a plug, I'd have the service department put a plug in there somehow. They can do it. They just got to get into the circuits where the energy goes into the battery and give me, the standard plug. Because I got the charging cable for the regular Tesla plug. So I'd have to have my car modified to receive the standard charging plug. So that's my plan. Have a little sip of tea, excuse me. Wet my whistle. Yeah, my two magnificent cleaning ladies come over at noon today. They usually come at 10, but they wanted to come at noon today. So I said, fine. Works for me. Gives me more room to talk to you folks. Anyway, Netflix's latest price increase plan. So I'm on automatic billing. So they're going to hit my account for apparently $25 next month. Yeah, $24.99. It's worth it. If it was $50 a month, it would be worth it. We watch just about every movie that comes out on Netflix. We're a member of the Amazon.com premium service, which costs, I think, $100 a year. So it's like $8 a month, right? 8 times 12 is 96. $8.33 a month. So here's the three different modes. We've got, as you can see on your left part of your screen there, so the standard plan, right? The $8 a month plan, ads supported. All mobile games and most movies, TV shows are available. As I said, most, not all. A lock icon will appear on unavailable titles. You can watch it on 2 supported devices simultaneously. Your image sharpness is 1080p, which is the full original size of HD. The standard service, without ads, unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, and games. You can watch 2 separate devices simultaneously. 1080p, which is the full original HD. which is, up to like a 50-inch TV. 1080p is, high definition, which is perfect up to about a 50-inch TV. When you get to these larger 60-inch, 70-inch, 80-inch, you really need the ultra high definition. So the first two pricing plans is the full high definition. So if you got a 50-inch TV or smaller, excuse me, large screen TV. Now the premium service, unlimited, ads-free, no ads, watch on 4 supported devices simultaneously. Seeing as 4K, which is the ultra high definition, which is the 2048. So instead of 1080, it's twice 1080. It's 2160, actually. So that's 4 times more sharpness than what you get with the 1080p. So if you have a 65-inch to 85-inch TV, you need 4K. If you get screen sizes, which I don't know what's available now, we have an 85-inch TV, 85 inches. Samsung, spectacular. Oh my God! You can download on 6 supported devices simultaneously, and you can add 2 members that don't live with you. So if you got kids, they can have the password and work it. So that's pretty cool. So I will tell my 2 sons that if they want Netflix Premium, they can go on our plan, and they don't have to have their own separate plan. So that'll save them, $20 a month. So between the 2 of them, that'd be $500 a year they save, not having to double up on Netflix. They were on my plan, and then Netflix cracked down and said everybody that's on this premium service has to be residents in where you're living. They can't be somewhere else. So now they're charging more with this $25 a month deal. But now they allow 2 non-resident people to sign on. So as soon as I confirm this service, as soon as they start charging me $24.99, that'll be, the warning message. That'll be my message that now I can give my login and password to my 2 35-year-old sons. Well, one's 35 and one is 33. So, yep. So that's a little surprise I got yesterday with regard to Netflix. And I just kind of explained it to you. So if you have a 65-inch TV to an 85 or 90-inch diagonal TV, you want the premium service of Netflix. So when you watch, videos and streaming TV or movie broadcasts, you want it in the Ultra HD plus HDR mode, which is available in the premium service. Now you can, you can use the 2046 or the 4K service on a smaller TV if it's a new modern 40-inch, because some of the older 40-inch doesn't support Ultra HD, doesn't support 4K mode. But if you bought the TV in the last 3 years, it should support UHTV, and it'd be a real sharp image, on those 40 inches or the 50-inch TV. All right, here's an important thing, which I just signed up for, so I really don't have I can't tell whether it's really good or not. But Truecaller is a popular anti-spam app that alerts users, about unwanted calls, and will screen them out, and unwanted text messages. Oh boy. Whew. I can't wait to see how that works, because I would say 120, my phone can separate, my known callers, people that are in my address book, that are text messaging me, but every day I get about 120, slightly over 100 text messages from enterprises I have, they want donations, it goes on and on, 120 of them a day. So my iPhone, the way it's set up, I can see that they're not in my address book. So they show up on my text messages. The phone part, goes to voicemail, and most of the robocalling hangs up when it goes to voicemail, and some of the non-robocalling enterprises that I don't know goes to voicemail, and they can leave a message, and I'll see the message, when I look at the phone app. So I'm interested to see how this works in screening out, the text messages that I get from 120 people I don't know every day. So that's what this app does, and it's called True True Caller, a popular anti-spam app that works on your phone and your text messages. Ooh, wow. I just downloaded it today. So, later on this week, I may have I'll follow up with this and tell you, if it works. Here's another picture. These are all picture files. This is this is what happens when a call comes in that's not in your phone book. So this is an insurance company's, scam. So here, see, Truecaller, number and caller ID, the biggest update ever on Truecaller for iPhone is here. There we go. Version 14 was made available a day ago, meaning yesterday. I can't click on more because this is a screen capture of when I downloaded. See the arrow in the cloud up in the top left corner? Producers, give a full screen on this. No, not on me, on that. You see where it says more? Yeah. So you can't click on that because this is a picture file. But when you go to Truecaller in the App Store, you see that logo, which has the blue and the phone in the middle. When you go to the App Store, you see a few other apps that are similar. You want the one with this icon, okay? So when I went into the App Store, I saw 3 or 4 other possible downloads. That was not this one, but I want this one. So you see the logo. So I want you to, there's the cloud with the arrow, meaning that the app is already downloaded in my system, but it's not active in the device. So it's sitting in a file somewhere, which now all I have to do is touch on that cloud, and it'll automatically start installing itself on the phone because it's already been downloaded. Or it's an app that I took off the phone, and then it's in the cloud, in my account cloud, as opposed to being copied from the App Store. But the App Store will decide which one should be activated in your device, because the one that's in the cloud may not be the updated version. See, version 14 a day ago was enhanced with a lot of the stuff you're seeing here. So it's always best to go to the App Store and get the newest version. Because see, what's new? The biggest update ever, so you don't want to miss out on that. You don't want to get the older version. You want the brand new version, version 14.0. It's always a good idea to click on over here on the left side of the screen where it says more, because right where my arrow is, because an interesting thing to notice is how often do the programming people update the version of this application. I mean, these are very sophisticated applications. They may be simple to use, but the truth is there's a lot of system engineering that goes into creating something that, the power of the iPhone makes apps like this capable of being used on your handheld device, because the computing power that's in your iPhone is staggering, really. So it's if you got version 15 or 16, then you got a super strong phone. If you got a phone that's older, version 14, 13 or whatever, upgrade it to 16, because the cameras and the computers and the all the supporting electronics and upload, download, all the stuff, the computing power in this handheld device is spectacular. I mean, it is so impressive, so don't keep driving around that old car. Upgrade your phone to Model 16 Pro. If you want a half-inch larger screen, get the Pro Max. Costs you $100 more. So, I mean, it's a $1,200 deal, no matter how you slice it. So you have a handheld computer with a phone combined into one package, which handles all your internet stuff. And so that's my story there. So I can't tell you anymore. And what you're seeing, stay ahead of the instant spam blocking and alert system. See who's calling you. Truecaller caller ID, so you can see, what and who it is. And it's, recording a message, but you can answer it anytime by touching the green button. Or you can cut it off if you want by pressing the red button. Or do nothing, and it just shows you who's calling you, and you don't have to do anything. It'll automatically record and hang up as appropriate. But if you don't even want to hear anything about these people, just hit the red button. Spam protection. Auto block spam. Live caller ID with Siri. So, the live caller ID is nice because it can be recording. It could be going to the recording message. And if you say, oh yeah, I know who that is, you can hit the green button and answer the call, even though they're in the middle of sending you a message. Let the assistant answer your calls. So it'll answer your calls and give you a message. And it'll go to message if you don't slide this thing over to answer the phone. If you're calling somebody and you want to record the call, just hit the record button, which should be the red button half. You see like a top end of it. It'll record your conversation, so you don't have to have like a separate recorder. That's handy. I've called some people, back that were sources regarding a legal matter I was handling or something or other. And you talk to somebody, you want to record the call, so that way you can go back and you see this join, merge calls. So that's how that works. It merges with an off-site recording situation, which you have access to. So that's the lion's share with, has to do with Truecaller. Some people have noticed in the swearing-in ceremony, it wasn't clear whether President Trump had his, at 12 o'clock sharp, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Roberts, got up real quick and kind of came over to the area where, Trump was, to get him to swear in, because it was time. And the choreography of everything that was going on was really spot on. And right at 12 o'clock, there was a lull, and Trump was standing. So, the Chief Justice jumped up, and had his card that he was going to read and was raising his hand. So Trump was, turned to face him and raised his right hand. But Melania was a little asleep at the switch, to put the Bible under his other hand. The two Bibles, which she brought with her. And I think she finally got them raised up where he could have put his hands on it, but he didn't, I don't think. So the question is, does the president swearing in ceremony require a hand on the Bible? Well, it went to the Constitution, and it does not require a Bible. It just requires that you raise your right hand. and you speak after me, as the Chief Justice gives you, 5 or 8 word segments of the swearing in. I, Donald John Trump, swear that I will do whatever. You got to raise your right hand and look the Chief Justice square in the eye while he recites to you the swearing in. You repeat after him, "So help me God." And then you bring your hand down and shake hands with the Supreme Court judge. And at that instant, you become president. And before that instant, you're not the president. You have to complete the swearing in words. And when the Chief Justice says, "Congratulations," at that instant, you're president. And before that instant, you were not president. So it was like at, like 12 o'clock plus 30 seconds, he was president. I mean, the choreography of the timing of what was going on for the entire, swearing in of, and the pre-swearing in stuff, with President Trump and all the post-swearing in events. I was watching TV, it's like the first time in my life, I was focused in on watching this from 11 a.m. until like 1 p.m. 1 a.m. the next day. Actually, I was going to say 1 p.m. the next day. So it was like 12, like 14 hours of watching TV. Yeah, 14 hours. Oh my God. That's nuts. But it was very interesting, and the end, when they had the inaugural balls, to see all the people. They had 3 main inaugural balls. They had 3. We've gone to 2 inaugural balls. We went to the inauguration of Ronald Reagan, would you believe? Yep. 1985. I got pictures right up there on the wall of us standing there with the swearing-in ceremony with Ronald Reagan's crowd. Yeah. I think let me just turn around. Nope, it's not that way. Yeah. That's right there. With Marilyn and I and my partner, Crenshaw, and his wife, Betty Crenshaw. So, we went to the Ronald Reagan swearing in. How about that? And then we went to the swearing in of Bush 43, the 43rd president. And Ronald Reagan was the 40th president. Can you believe it? It's amazing. It was exciting. It was so cold with the Ronald Reagan one, 1985. No, I'm sorry, the Bush one. It was so cold that they canceled the parade. I think they just canceled it. They didn't have it worked out where they did it in this big Coliseum thing, because it was probably may not have been built yet. So when they called it indoors, they canceled the parade. I think that's what I remember hearing on the news. They canceled the parade because it was the wind chill factor was like 0. So we ducked in. At least one of the Bush 43. It wasn't that cold. It was raining, so we didn't really get to see any parade. So we ducked into the Capitol Grill. Robin and her husband and myself, and we just we had cocktails while we watched. All that stuff, all that after the swearing in stuff. Yeah. So in the Capitol Grill is, it's a nice place. So spent a couple $100 on cocktails. Sat in the Capitol Grill instead of watching whatever the hell was going on outside in the rain. Yeah. All the dignitaries in the parade, they're in limousines. As the parade progresses. The people outside, on each side of the street, they're in the rain. No. We were up there visiting our daughter Robin and her husband, and 2 little kids running around. So it didn't matter that we saw the parade on TV. They had a big TV, big screen TV. It wasn't that big. So whatever we saw it on TV. We're yakking it up, having cocktails, so it didn't matter. So, Trump begins to purge 1,000 Biden appointees. And he began by firing General Milley. Took his picture off the building. Inside the building, a big portrait of him. They took it down and spackled over the place where the hooks were, so you wouldn't even know anything was hanging there. Took it right down. He goes, Milley and the President Biden decided they're getting the military out before every single, American that was waiting in line there to get out. It was a pretty stupid idea. And then turned over $80 billion worth of the finest military equipment. You just gave it, to the people you were fighting for 20 years. I mean, this Iraq business has been going on for 20 years. So they fired Milley is gone. 4-star general, whatever. He was one of the idiots that decided that was a good idea and left behind. And these Iraqis are primitive, where they behead, they cut the heads off of the people that are his adversaries. He left thousands of them behind. So he was one of the geniuses that signed off on that idea. TikTok. TikTok is, the Supreme Court has upheld that the United States Congress can shut down TikTok because of national security issues, because the information that TikTok gets from the 160 million U.S. subscribers, that information goes right into the Chinese government, and they can sort through that data and find out things about the subscribers. So that has to be unhooked, because we don't want anything going back to China. So Trump suggested some kind of a joint venture with the U.S. government, where they take control of the software and cut off that data link to the Chinese government. And if that doesn't happen, I think TikTok is going to cease to be. It's not all decided yet, but so that's why I pause. Rumor has it that Trump took his hands. He took the oath of office without placing his hand on the Bible. The Bibles are right next to him, but she showed up just 10 seconds too late. And his arm actually didn't get on the Bibles. She's standing there with the two Bibles, but she had to turn around behind her to get them off her seat. And in the meantime, Trump immediately started, because Roberts was like Johnny on the spot to start the swearing in, and he never got a chance to put his hands on the Bible. I checked the Constitution, and nowhere does it say anything about a Bible. And there were 3 other American presidents, hundreds of years ago, that didn't have hands-on Bibles either. It's more of a customary, USA customary thing, but it's not a requirement. So, but raising the right hand is. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. It doesn't say anything about having your hand on a Bible, as long as you have the Bible close by. Yeah. So here's a Tesla Cybercab. A Tesla Cybercab is spotted. There's they can see a steering wheel in there, and there's supposed to be no steering wheel and no pedals. So what's all that about? Is there actually a steering wheel in there? I'd have to do some digital research on this image. Here's a big expanded view of that. And I don't see a steering wheel in there, but it may be. I guess if you look carefully, you can see an arch right there. All right. That's why that's a headline in Flipboard. See the F up there in the top left corner. Flipboard. It's my place to go every day to look at the news. Excuse me. After taking office, Trump pardons 1,500 of the January 6th defendants. Not everybody, but just these, people that, jumped the fence. And if Nancy Pelosi would have approved just 1,000 troops, Trump offered 10,000 troops, which you can station all the way around the Capitol and all this stuff. And none of this would have happened. She said, no, we don't need it. So they had a minimal number of Capitol Police. It's almost like they said, half you guys can go home. So there was a below normal number of Capitol Police around, and you had some, when Trump gave his speech, apparently, over on the right-hand side, when you look at the images of the people, they were let's say 15 or 20 bad guys mixed in the 100,000, people that were listening to Trump's speech outdoors. And on January 6th, in the Electoral College, and the Vice President delivered the election results, to Congress. So he gave a speech in front of, 100,000 people. And he told them to march slowly as we approach the Capitol. He didn't want people running, so the bad guys all ran up to the Capitol. And they started, breaking through the fences and, breaking in the front doors before the 100,000 people that Trump was talking to, even ended his speech. They were already, harassing the barriers and the locked doors of the Capitol building. So you could tell there were bad guys mixed in. So when he pardoned these 1,500, there's another 100 that are still under lock and key, to sift through those to find out, who are really the bad guys and who aren't. So the Democratic states are suing the government over Trump's, bid, his intentions to end birthright citizenship. Well, it's in the Constitution. It says if you're born here, the product of that birth is a U.S. citizen, not the mother. So if she is a non-citizen, her kid becomes a citizen because he was born in the United States. So what Trump is attempting to do is not all the rest of the relatives, are citizens, including the mother and the father. Only the kid was born in the United States. And if you read the Constitution, that's exactly, I think it's the 14th Amendment. I have it bookmarked here. Here's the, this is the 14th Amendment. Oh, we don't have a producer. Give us full screen. There we go. And I'm going to go to 14th. You're not going to be able to read it. You see 14th Amendment, Section 1. It's page 56 of my little booklet here. And it starts off, this is Section 1 of Amendment 14. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. No state shall make or enforce, any law or action that would interfere with the citizenships of this birth. So you'd have to amend the 14th Amendment. To amend the Constitution requires a supermajority of the House and Senate and 75% of the states. There would be 38 states out of 50. If you do the math, 75% of 50 is 38. Can't have half a state. So that's that. That's a real high barrier, to get an amendment to the Constitution. They made it intentionally difficult to do because they don't want, successive, 250 years later, all of a sudden everyone starts to modify a particular piece of the Constitution because we got, a room full of crazy people. Excuse me. You can see all the media in there gathered in the Oval Office. I've set foot in the Oval Office. I didn't go all the way in because no one was in the room. And it's that door. The door that opened is that door right there behind the news people. That door. That door was open. And I peeked in the door and set foot in there. Just so I could say I set foot in the Oval Office. I didn't set the rest of me. One of the senior people in the executive office building, which all report up through Trump, because he's the senior executive officer. And but in this photograph you're looking at right now, which we need to add. There we go. So that's a picture of him signing these executive orders. And this lawyer here has little sticky notes on each one so that he can remind the president briefly what each of these executive orders that he's getting ready to sign, what's the topic, the reason for the executive order. So there's a news guy taking a picture with an iPhone. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then you see all the microphones while the media are barking questions, at the president. And he's answering questions while he's signing, The guy is multi-processing because he knows what those executive orders say. They've gone through them a couple of times, the drafts and then the final writings of them and crossing out this word and adding that word. All that's been done. And these are the actual executive orders that are going to be registered in the books and records of the United States of America. So when he gets finished signing that, the lawyer here will pick up the closed booklet and then slide over the next one, which you can see with this, or you'll hand him the next one. I forget how that works. See, so here's she gives birth to that little baby. That makes her a U.S. citizen in white. The mother in pink top does not become a citizen, nor does her three other children, or the husband. Nope. Now, these other three were born in the United States. Fine, then you have 4 children that are citizens, and the mom and dad are not. So in theory, all six of them would be deported, and then she would make application to come into the country because her 4 children are naturalized citizens, and she and her husband want to enter the country along with her 4 kids. I mean, that's in theory what would have to happen. But if those 3 children were born in Nicaragua, for example, and you got a Nicaragua husband and wife, and the 1-year-old or 9-month-old infant that Mama's holding, dressed in a white outfit, right here. If she was born in the United States, the one in the very middle of the screen, then she becomes the U.S. citizen, and everyone else is not. For some reason, other liberals have defined it so that she gives birth, all of a sudden everybody's U.S. citizens. That's the problem. So all you need to do is enforce what the Constitution says. Not this hybrid of she gives birth to the kid in white, all of a sudden everybody's U.S. citizens. And the husband can bring in his family. So I think they saw it as like 24 or 25 relatives in effect could become citizens because of just the little baby in white is born in the United States. No other country in the world does that. And we shouldn't be doing it. And we can't afford it. This is a picture of Elon Musk raising both hands, gestures as he speaks during a Donald Trump inauguration event held at the Capital One Arena on January 20th in Washington. And, Elon Musk played a prominent role in Donald Trump's inauguration, and he played a prominent role in helping him get elected. He spent 2 weeks, campaigning, in Pennsylvania. Trump wasn't even there during a lot of those events that Elon Musk held. Elon Musk has already derailed a bipartisan spending deal in Congress. Yeah. Global leaders are, taking Musk's meddling in Europe policies seriously. Yeah. And they're taking Musk seriously because, it's based on the perception of these foreign leaders that he has influence over, Trump. And he certainly has his ear. Now, whether he convinces Trump of something, or he just, pats him on the head verbally and says, it's good the way we're doing it. Because he could do that. But he certainly can be, have his face in whatever's going on. And he apparently has already stopped the spending bill. Making it clear to the president, what the adverse results of this bill is. So that's what that's all about. Trump administration is ordering all federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles placed on paid leave out. And then they'll decide what to do, and they'll probably be, ousted out of their government roles. This is a memo issued Tuesday to the heads of departments and agencies. Sets a deadline of no later than 5 p.m. Wednesday to inform the employees that they will be put on paid leave, as the agencies prepare to close all DEI-related offices and programs, and to remove all websites and social media accounts for such offices. It also asks all federal agencies to submit a written plan by January 31 for dismissing all those employees, whatever the number is. President Trump signed an executive order on Monday ending radical and wasteful diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in federal agencies, with DEI offices and programs being ordered to be shut down. That couldn't be any clearer. That's the end of that. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It means that you, on purpose now, are going to put in, I'm just going to say, a yellow person instead of a white person. Whether they're better or worse, even if they're worse, have less proficiency. Can you imagine an air traffic controller? That's controlling air traffic in our airports. If there are any DEI employees in that tower, no, you don't put an employee like that, a diversity or equity situation in a control tower or anywhere in U.S. agencies. And they were hired because they were black, or they were hired because they were yellow. No, you're hired because you're the best. Now, if you happen to be black, that's fine. You happen to be yellow, that's fine. But you're not going to be hired because of your color. But no longer are you going to be hired because of your color, as opposed to whether you're better or not. All the best stand in line, and they all get interviewed, and whoever's the best gets hired. Period. No diversity, no equity, inclusion. What does equity mean? Well, you get paid based on your proficiency and capability, not because of color, race, or creed. Everybody's equal. The theory is that black people, 100 years ago were slaves. So because they were slaves 150 years ago, their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren, and their great-great-great-great-great-great-great, how many generations ago is that? Eight generations later, we should hire a black person or a yellow person, instead of the white person, even though the white person is actually better. They're all lined up as to proficiency, regardless of race, color, creed, or ethnic preference. So, anyway, Trump's going to visit California and North Carolina and so forth, Friday in a couple of days. See what the hell's going on there. Seattle is burnt out California. I mean, how nuts is that? And if they had the proper rules in place, so you'd cut away the dead, and dried out vegetation around your house. But no. California had rules. You had to leave that dead stuff growing up around your house. Which is like kindling wood, which basically then caught the houses on fire. There's some houses in this subdivision, up northeast corner of what I'm looking at. The house is standing right in the middle of everything else being burned around it, because he cut away all the bushes, and he had, he was up on his roof hosing down the roof to make sure that the burning embers wouldn't attach itself to the roof and start a fire, and had sprinklers spritzing the sides of his houses, and the sides were of burn-proof, fire retardant materials were used on the sides of his house, so that they would, not catch fire. So the house is standing around everything that's burned out, because that homeowner was smart enough to flame-proof the sides of his house and his roof. And he was on the guy who owned the house is on his roof. Whoops. No, here's they got 8 inches of snow in New Orleans. It's snowing like crazy. I sent back a package. Here's a FedEx tracking proof that they got it, in case I don't get the credit for bought a pair of shoes that were too big. And I got the replacement shoes right here behind me, which I'll try on this morning. They're kind of like, so when I go out to dinner, I can wear nice shoes instead of these sneaker things these black sneaker things I walk around all day. They're kind of like slip-on sneakers. I'll show you. So here it is. This heel makes it so you can slip them on and off without untying them all the time. So I got like a double knot, for this bow thing. So it stays tight all the time, and I can slip my foot right in there without untying everything. So when I go out to dinner or whatever, or go out for lunch, I wear a nicer version of that, which I have right here. My son says Cole and Hahn is a good brand. And here they are, with the white bottoms. Those are popular today. So it looks nice. You know, it's not leather. It's a material that can breathe. So your feet won't get too hot. We're in a hot climate down here, you know. Anyway, so I'll try these on. Amazon.com. Amazon's everything. I will try them on today. I think I'll keep the box. So when I take them off, I'll put them back in the box. I have a stool in my bathroom, and I can put the box right underneath that, or I can underneath the dining. We have a table in the living room, big, cocktail table that sits out in front. It stands up 18 or 20 inches tall. It's 54-inch square. It's a big table. Fits in the room perfectly around these two couches that essentially surround our big screen TV. 85-inch beauty. Ugh. I'm glad I went. It was a choice between 75-inch and 85-inch. And it was $1,600 or $1,800. It's $200 difference. And you add 10 inches diagonal measure. So, it fills up the wall a bit more and gives you, a life-size image. So when you see this, the size of the people that are on the TV, they're about the size of, of you in the room, instead of it being a little tiny head, on a little tiny TV, the head is about the size of your head, literally on the TV screen. High definition, ultra high definition, actually. So instead of 1080p, it's 2160p. Yeah. So that's my story. My cleaning people are going to show up pretty soon, so I'm going to click off the air here, stop talking, and you can get on with your day because it's 11:45, so this will give you time to get ready for your lunch. I'm going to have a little of yesterday's, what do you call it, Chinese food. Yeah, with the the sautéed egg noodles, lo mein, I think is what they call it. Yeah. We got beef lo mein, we got vegetable lo mein. So I ate on that yesterday at 8:30 last night. I didn't think of it until 7:30. It took an hour to order it and get it here. And I think at 8:15 I got it. So I had a late dinner. So I chowed down on that. And then I started watching YouTube, the YouTube channel. It's quite interesting. Since this broadcast, is being simulcasted on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live. Excuse me. You have to be You have to be commercial clients of those 3 channels in order for them to accept your digital broadcasts. So I have a premium YouTube service, so that entitles me to watch all the stuff that's on the YouTube channels. And it's really quite interesting. I've learned a lot about Elon Musk's robotics, humanoid robots. Yeah. Keep up to date on that. All right, so I'll turn the music up, and I'll turn me off, so you can get ready for your lunch while you enjoy, about 1 minute of this tag. And I like to put that on screen. I always have this on the front and the back of every broadcast that I do. Sometimes I forget and I'm doing it while it's but I got it up there now, and it will be full screen now, and we're gonna go to full audio on our royalty-free instrumental. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.